Thanks for tuning in. I've known this wonderful woman for a long, long time, and her story is remarkable. First of all, let's bring her in. Jeannie Baumgartner, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm great. We were just talking about how you and I met and how long we've known each other. So I know I did a lot of work with Pony Bird and the Night of the Rising Stars.
Right.
But did you and I meet with Rhonda Overberg?
Yes,
That's
with
what I thought.
The Night of Superstars with,
Yes.
with the children.
Yes.
Yes.
And just, I mean, and what an incredible, if you don't know that organization, Pony Bird, a home for profoundly disabled children and adults. I actually was their developmental director for a time.
Wow.
And just absolutely love the work that they do. And yes, what a, do they still do that, by the way?
Well, with COVID, we had to stop, and I think we are going to have another one next year.
Yeah, it was remarkable. I used to do the emceeing down in
Yes.
Farmington, and then they moved it into St. Louis.
Correct,
Is that
right.
where they still hold it in
Yes,
St. Louis now?
yes.
Look into that, and if it comes back, you definitely you want to go to that because you want to talk about true superstars walking a red carpet. That's the kind of red carpet walk that I want to see for sure. Well, that I don't know how long it's been, but somebody was asking how many years you and I have known each other, and I said just a long, long time, right?
Yeah, because we were on our 11th anniversary of the Night of Superstars.
Well, you have been remarkable with that. Remarkable for what you've done in the area as a real estate agent for how many years now?
25.
25?
Yes.
And you probably see her beautiful face on billboards everywhere as one of the top everywhere. So what made you get into real estate 25 years ago?
I always, since I was 19, I would watch the documentaries on, commercials about investing in real estate. And my father was an architect. So when us girls grew up in high school, we didn't go to the malls. We would go to new subdivisions, like when St. Albans started, when they were developing everything. So we're going way back when. So it's just always in my blood. And I actually taught cosmetology and had my own salon and was dabbling in real estate. And believe it or not, in 1988, I got married. And actually, there's a thing that was just did you know? Well, the bank would not let me buy my building without my husband's signature on it. And you know how independent I am. And it made me so mad. I'm like, well, I'm the one who does it. He doesn't know how to color hair or cut hair. So I thought, you know what? I'm not going to buy the building. I'm going to get my real estate license. And I kept it a secret. My children were 3 months old, 4 and 7 years old. And I was second in the nation my first year.
Second in the nation. Okay, we're not talking second in St. Louis. Second in the nation.
As a rookie of the year, second in the nation.
Wow.
And the builders still talk about how I had Christopher on my backpack, carrying him, and we only had pagers. We didn't even have cell phones, back then, and at the bus stop and everything else. But it's been a wonderful career. Every day it's something different, and I love that I'm helping people.
And there you are. We're going to show. We have a lot of pictures and videos that we're going to show over the next hour or so. Yes, she's been incredible. But one of the things is you, in the last 4 years, wondered if this was something that you were going to be able to continue to do. Wonder if you were going to be able to be in the top. Your entire team showed up big time. We're going to talk about this unbelievable journey that you've been through, this resilience, the story of hope and light, all the things that we always talk about, that when people tune in and they watch and they wonder, can I go on? Can I go on? This woman has gone through that. And thank you, by the way, for all the pictures you provided for us, because it will really tell the story. Your family, I'm going to start with this, is everything to you.
Correct, it is.
So I saw, did you and your husband, Mike, just celebrated 6 years?
Yes.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
You had a destination wedding 6 years ago, right?
Yes.
Where did you celebrate your 6th anniversary?
St. Martin's.
Oh, beautiful. There's some pictures of them. And this is the man that was placed in your life, your true love of your life, that has stood beside you, and you said literally carried you.
Yes.
I was looking at some of your posts, and you'll understand the carrying part in just a second. But looking at these pictures, what do these mean to you?
Well, that was during actually 2 years ago when I was hiding, which I did this whole time. I was hiding what was going on with me, and I was wearing a knee brace, and that was with the meniscus tear of lifting my golden retriever on top of the vascular issues I was having. So to be honest with you, that was last year, the year before last, and Rhonda Overberg, as you know, and Jerry's health conditions. And in January that year, we said, we don't know how long we're going to be here. And we really made a bucket list, and one is a trip to Hawaii, and the other one is we also went to, I think, back to St. Martin's with Rhonda and Jerry as well.
So she just said something that's just so extremely important, because it doesn't matter where you are in your life, who you are, the age that you are, you truly don't know. People always talk about, I don't know if I have another day. You don't have an idea if you have another second.
Yeah,
I've
right.
been writing a book for many, many years talking about the power of the second, because it really is. We could be sitting in here doing this beautiful interview together, haven't seen each other in years, and then leave, and we don't know that we'll make it to
No.
downstairs. I
No,
mean,
right.
that's the thing. When we talk about you really, truly living for the moment and understanding the beauty of the breath in your lungs, that's what my prayer is every morning. I open my eyes and say, thank you for the breath in my lungs.
No, right.
And please help me inspire
absolutely
today,
need to,
right?
right.
The breath in the lungs. So you have incredible family. Again, Mike, you want to talk about your kids? How old are they now?
They are 34, 30, and 26.
And again, been by your side always, but really ramped that up when all of these things started happening to Jeannie. If you're just tuning in, Jeannie Baumgartner again is my guest. There we go. We're looking at the family, and we're looking at some Christmas pictures, which, by the way, you are huge into Christmas,
Yes.
like big time decorating, right?
Yes, I am.
Where did that love of decoration coming from?
I don't know. You know, I've always loved the holidays. I mean, I probably have more Easter decorations than people have Christmas decorations. And every other day is just an interruptions on my holidays. You know, I just love to celebrate life and color and whatever, whether it's decorating the house or decorating my kids, you know, when they were children, you know, just making sure they were just from head to toe. And I think in this year, you know, I don't know if you'll reveal that, was the first year that I couldn't decorate for Christmas, and it was really depressing for me, you know, and for my whole family. You know, it's just the spirit of it, you know, wherever you look in the house, and it makes you celebrate it. And obviously, they are religious holidays, which is very important to me, and I love holidays.
And she's going to tell us why she wasn't able to do the big decorating. You actually had to promise your family you weren't going to do this because it would have taken a lot out of you.
Right, right.
So your journey of where you are today, and you may be able to see what she has to the side of her. You want to pick that up for me? We're going to talk more about this because this has become a part of her new life. But your journey to this began back in 2020.
Correct.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to take a quick break. And when we return, some of these pictures, by the way, I do want to warn you, might be a little graphic. So just be aware of that. If you've got kids around, just be aware. But it's reality. And that's what the show is all about. We'll have more with Jeannie Baumgartner when we return.
She's got it for $8,700. You're going to pay her.
Welcome back, my beautiful guest, Jeannie Baumgartner. And we've told you a little bit about who she is as a person with faith and family. And really, as we mentioned, in 2020, that's when she really started getting tested. And at this point, when your life tests you, I wonder where you go in your mind and your spirit. You know, I'm very big on the triangle of life theory that I talk about, which is balancing mental, balancing spiritual, and balancing physical. If we can work on all of those and go to the 33% of each one of them, you have balance of life. I've been talking about that for a long, long time with my life coaching clients. This woman understands that, and I'm sure that sometimes one of them kind of falters, and you have to have people to lift you up to take you back through that, spiritually or mentally or physically. Jeannie Baumgartner, again, my guest. I'm going to look at any questions or comments that you have. Feel free to drop those in so we can interact together. Jeannie, I went into the break and said that for you, resilience, truly understanding strength, all started back in 2020. So take us back to what happened. We all know what the world was going through at the time. And one of the things that you explained to me is what many of us went through, which was having to go in and, whether you wanted to or not, get the vaccine. Because, I mean, here you are, a real estate agent, and you said people didn't want you coming into the home if you weren't vaccinated, right?
Correct.
Is that the reason why you ultimately got the vaccine?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we didn't have enough information about it to be fearful of it, but still it was unknown. I wouldn't have chose to do that, but I literally had people who had a stop sign on their front door. and they said, stop. If you are not vaccinated, you cannot come into my home, including me, their realtor. So, it wasn't just one, it became several. And when you show property, I also kind of felt like I owed that to the homeowners, because you're going into their homes. So I sent you the video. It was just, yeah, I mean, I was talking about there was a competition in our company. You had to do as many videos work related to win a free trip to Costa Rica was the giveaway trip Rhonda was giving away. And there I am. I mean, I'm just laughing about it. I'm not worried about it. And that was my second. That was my second shot in this series. And yeah, 3 weeks later, that's when all my problems really began.
Okay, and this is where we're going to go with this, because what this woman has gone through, I don't want you to miss one part of this. If you have to rush off to work, you've got to come back to this show. You've got to watch the next half hour plus that we're going to talk about this. So you have it done. My husband asked, I don't really think it matters, because again,
It was the Moderna.
Okay, this is interesting. That's the one I had, and you and I are going to have to talk off air, which at some point I think I'll tell my journey, but... Yeah, there were a lot of problems that people have gone through depending on which one they had. But the one that we heard that was linked to possible blood clots was the Johnson & Johnson one. Mm-hmm. So when I read and saw your story, I thought maybe that was the one that you had. So you have the vaccine, and then 3 weeks later, that quick, you start running into issues. So take us there, and let me tell you, it was issue after issue, folks.
Well, I had a bypass done prior to that, which was a blockage between my heart and my intestines. But, it was all great. Everything was very successful. I guess it was, a year prior to that. And 3 weeks later, I immediately had this terrible pain in my chest and my stomach. And I went back to the vascular surgeon, and he just kept shaking his head. And my husband said, well, can we do a stent? Can we do this? Can we do that? And he's looking at it, and he said, look at it. It's a mess. I had scar tissue, and I had just had another scan like a month prior to this, and there was nothing. So I know for a fact that this happened from the vaccine 3 weeks later. And I've heard, and believe me, I've spent a lot of time in the hospital, that the vaccine after effects and the COVID will attack a weaker area or organ of someone's body. And this was a compromised area. So he's looking at this, and it looks like an octopus tangle of scar tissue around my heart. And he says, we've got to go in. It's going to be, they had to create a new bypass. They couldn't even cut out the bypass because it was so tangled, and create a new bypass with a different Y shape to be able to allow blood to go from my heart into my intestines.
And you had a scan a month before you had the vaccine? Or a month?
Yeah.
And nothing showed up? Okay, so, and I know a lot of you are going to be watching and saying, well, could it have been this? Could it have been that? What have the doctors said that have taken care of you? Have they ever said, yes, we are going to attribute it back to this?
No.
They won't.
My vascular surgeon won't, but let me tell you, I truly, when I say that, that I alone last year had 30 vascular surgeries. So I spent a lot
Hold on, say that again.
Just last year I had 30 vascular surgeries.
I don't want that to be missed. 30 in a year. You want to talk about knockdown after knockdown after knockdown. Okay, sorry. I wanted you all to hear that. So go back to the surgeon.
But, through the course of the 4 years, they were very good at keeping me isolated from COVID patients. This is back at the time where
no one can come in.
Right. They just dropped patients off. And even Marie's ex-fiance, a tall man, very healthy, was sick. She had to just drop him off at the hospital at 7 o'clock that night. The hospital called and said he's getting worse. It's pneumonia. And we're putting him on a vent. They called the next morning and said he had died. This was something that was what was happening at the time. So knowing this was a very intense, serious surgery, I only had a 2% chance of surviving, and that I would be put on a ventilator immediately after. They did allow my husband not to only come into the hospital, but to spend the night with me. But the deal was he could not leave. If he left, he could not return back to the hospital. So through the course of the 4 years, they were very good at keeping me away from the COVID patients and everything. But that was when people were being diagnosed with COVID, but nobody wanted to contribute anything to the vaccine. But as I would be wheeled by myself into these special elevators and stuff, I mean, the health professionals would cry because they were either going to lose their job if they had not gotten the vaccine. One young man, they had just had a baby. He hadn't even met his baby, and it had been 5 months because of this whole COVID thing. Yep. So that was back then, but that's when I was hearing the real truth. That's how I know how much this is a problem with blood clots with these vaccines. And the one vascular surgeon, he was always very honest with me. He always knelt at my bed early in the morning and he said, Jeannie, here's the deal. Either you are a COVID vascular patient or victim or a COVID respiratory victim. And you're the vascular patient, and I know about, I'm so thankful that about 2 months ago, I got a full body scan that, it's been reported that the people that are the COVID vascular victims have micro clots all through their body. And if I had gone through all of this and found out that I have them going on in other appendages and stuff, it would be very, very, very hard for me to deal with. But I was clear. I mean, even morticians can't even embalm people sometimes because the blood is so thick with these blood clots. And, I hear more and more about it. And like I said, spending as much time as I did in the hospital, it's very, very frequent.
And you were down being treated in the South, right? Down in Festus, is that right?
No, Mercy, the big Mercy.
The big Mercy. Mm-hmm. But at some point you went to Mercy Jefferson County.
Well, that was the one time that the clot blew.
Okay.
And the blood was running under the bathroom door. My husband rushed in and grabbed bath towels, and the bath towels were literally dripping, and he had to call the ambulance, and they couldn't get me all the way to Big Mercy. They had to stop at Festus to put in 2 sutures because I'd already lost 4 pints of blood.
Again, and this just keeps going, folks. So this is what she went through starting 4 years ago. And obviously, what goes through your mind, your children's mind, your husband's mind, as you're going through this. And then your story just keeps going and going.
Right. Well, after the vaccine, and that had happened, it's called a superior mesenteric artery surgery that was done. And for about a year, I was fine. And then that Christmas that you saw those decorations, it was a big Christmas. I bought a 91-acre farm and bought them a side-by-side. I thought I was fine after that, And it was about 6:30. We're at a bonfire, and Nikki says, Mom, you look so tired. And I said, I am, and I'm very hyper, so that was very unusual. I went to bed for 3 days, a lot of pain. My whole body hurt. And when I woke up, there was a little marble-sized thing in my leg. Come to find out, I did, in fact, even though I suffered the consequence of the vaccine, I now had COVID. And that was the first of all these surgeries and all the terrible things that I'd gone through. And what was going through our minds, unfortunately, was, the clot, they always told me it could go to my heart, it could go to my brain. So each time it was scary. And even during procedures, I was blowing clots. That's what was scary. And then I knew every time in my heart that I would leave that hospital, I just knew I would come back to it again. And some days it would be, I was at a closing, it was a great day, and I would just take one step up to get into my house, and it would feel like 1,000 bees stung me, and I would just pray, please don't let it be another clot. Well, my foot would turn black and blue within an hour or so and hurt very much, and sure enough, I'd go back and that's what it would look like.
Your foot was blue. You described the bees, and then at one point you described like gasoline burning feeling.
That was from the one time that I had gone to my vascular surgeon like 3 or 4 times complaining about the pain. And I was trying to plant flowers, dragging my good foot to plant a flower. It took an hour. And I called the office again, and she said, Jeannie, I don't know what to tell you. Your ultrasound and the whatever is showing that you have a blood circulation. I said, Julie, I'm in so much pain. I said, okay. She goes, well, I don't know what to tell you. Go to the emergency room. So I went and showed 2 more houses that evening because I thought, well, she's not worried about it. My foot wasn't blue, but it was in a lot of pain. And Christopher was with me showing houses. I sat 7 hours at the emergency room, and when they did the CAT scan, that contrast, even though I'd had so many before, I knew as soon as they were putting it in me that it felt like gasoline, and my whole pelvic area just felt like it was on fire. And I was knocking on it, and I was saying, something's wrong, something's wrong. And they didn't take me out right away. And when they took me out, the young boy looked at the tech and said, she said she can't breathe. And she said, get her out of my room. Get that lady out of my room.
Why?
I don't know. She didn't want me to have a heart attack or something in the room. So when I went back to the emergency room where they were keeping me, obviously, and my son was in there, and I told the nurse again, I can't breathe. Well, she left. So now I felt like this metal cage was on me, and it was like going up my face. And Christopher, my youngest son, rushes out to the hallway, and he says, didn't you hear her? My mom said she can't breathe. And now they can see the monitors. She runs in, a doctor walks in, and he says, Miss Baumgartner, you might be having a heart attack. And so then more cardiologists come in, and then he says, Miss Baumgartner, I think you might be having a heart attack. And then he says, now more are coming in. I see the priest. I see the paddles. My son is screaming. He's crying. And they said, call your loved ones now. And he said, Miss Baumgartner, you are having a heart attack. Well, next thing I knew, I woke up in the ICU, and unfortunately, 2 more times, even though it was on my records at Mercy, I had 2 more anaphylactic reactions. And Mike said, because I was out. When you have that, I don't know if you pass out or what happens, but he said, yeah, you were having seizures and foam was coming out of your mouth. So, I don't even care where I go. Anything medical, I tell everybody, don't give me contrast, even though I know they're not going to. So that's why, as we get through this, that ultimate decision from my vascular surgeon was even my procedures to save my leg was becoming life-threatening.
Again, you were giving me chills left and right, and I know this story. I read your story last night to my husband out loud, and he just kept going, oh my God, oh my God. I mean, knockdown, as I said, knockdown after knockdown. Again, what goes through the mind of your husband, your children, as they're watching this, seizuring, being told you're having a heart attack, completely just being void from life in front of them, and believing they're not going to have their mom, his wife anymore. I mentioned that we're going to show you some pictures. Let's go through. You talked about all these surgeries that you had to have, and then take us through these pictures. I mentioned again, please, if you don't want to see these, you might want to step away, but these might be a little graphic to you. Zach, if you can just start circulating through these. And can you describe what you've gone through with this?
That was on occasion that my vascular surgeon was not there, and his associate chose to do what that's called a fasciotomy. They literally flank both sides of your lower leg, and on top of it is a vacuum that grinds the meat in your leg. And I really don't have a lot of meat on my leg. That where it dipped down is from the pressure of it just not being connected. That's that machine. It was extremely, extremely painful. In fact, when my vascular surgeon returned, he let me have that removed because it was just so painful.
And you had drains put in?
Oh, yes, lots of drains. That's just one side of it, and then the other side is flanked just like that one, and that's when they took the vacuum off.
And you had to go through all of these over what course of time?
This was all in 1 year.
All in 1 year, 30 surgeries. This is where you were talking about the drains, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Again, folks, this is what she went through, and you can see just how tiny she is. She's such a tiny lady, and you had mentioned there's barely any body fat on you whatsoever. So the pain that you had to go through from these 30 surgeries, and then ultimately, at the end, finally being told, we can't save the leg because we may not be able to save you.
Right.
And then you're faced with becoming an amputee.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. We're going to go into that and what that does to you mentally, spiritually, as a person, professionally, all the things that run through your head, and what you ask God. That's coming up next.
You are truly an incredible human being, and just what you're doing is so inspiring. This was really a cathartic experience for me. So I appreciate you, love you. It's been an honor to not only just be here on set with you, but just to sit in your presence. You inspire everyone around you, from your motivational speaking to your podcast here, to just being the human that you are.
It's just such a joy to be able to see you at this point in your career. really following your passion, fulfilling your dreams, and encouraging other people to do the same.
I feel that I've been missing out. I believe God places people like you in people's lives for a reason. You have definitely been a God wing for me.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, The Real Monica Adams Show. Again, let people know we are on Facebook and YouTube. And as you watch this, please share the story, because hopefully what she has gone through will give you hope for your own life, some inspiration, some motivation. If you missed the first 40 minutes, it's fine. You can go back and listen. But from here forward, you're going to really hear the resilience. And Jeannie, I just want to say to you what some of the people are commenting on. Oh my God's blessings to you, Stephanie says. Janet said, I can't believe what you've gone through. God sure was not done with you. What a scary story, Diane says. We also had someone asking what your shirt represents. Marilyn wanted to know what your shirt represented.
Love, hope. Was it faith, hope, love? Oh,
faith.
Yeah, God.
Faith.
God, yeah.
So we know, for those of you that are faith-based, you've probably heard that God would never take you to something that he wouldn't take you through. At any point during any of these 30 surgeries, everything you've gone through, being faced with having to become an amputee, did you ever lose faith?
Oh, no. And I never thought I would lose my leg. I just kept going, and I had my actually biggest year the year before that at 26 million, hiding what I was going through, and I lost so much weight. I was down to 73 pounds this time last year.
You got below that, though. You got down to 69, didn't you?
Yeah, after 30 days in the hospital with the TPN. So I'd wear padded shoulders like you are and just kept layering it just so people didn't know. Because in our business, if people lose faith in you and don't have confidence in you, you're going to lose your business. And I'm the breadwinner, and I hold my whole team together. And even though I have all these beautiful, strong men for sons, that they're still little boys. And I was so panicked on the one aspect that luckily my attorney came to the hospital and set up my entire trust for my children, and I had to do my directives and things like that because, I was told, my chances just weren't very good, not just for my leg, but for my health, because these clots, again, even though it seemed very isolated to the leg, obviously these clots could have blown anywhere.
Which one of your kids is that?
That's Christopher.
That's Christopher. That's what I thought.
Yes.
Christopher is so faith-based. We've been talking about Christopher. Christopher was a model,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And then he now is part of this whole real estate journey. And by your side, he is, well, your whole family obviously lifts you up, but you are everything to him. I've seen his post, and just, what the two of you have in a mother-son relationship is just absolutely beautiful. What did they say to you to help lift you up during this horrific year that you went through, and then having to be faced with the realization that you're going to lose your leg? What were their comments? What were their prayers for you?
Oh, Christopher was the one that was with me with the story I just told about being in the emergency room, but he never ever left my side in the hospital, and he cries. I can show you a text from last night, 2 nights ago. I love you, Mom. I love you, Mother. Please don't ever leave me, Mom. Please don't ever leave me. So it's great because then I can say, and don't you ever leave me either, Christopher. You stop.
And don't you forget how much you love me.
You stop speeding and things like that, But, all of them. My middle son is a little bit more reserved. My older son is, when your firstborn is always like your little soulmate. I was a single mom for a long time, so we have such an extremely strong bond. And their fear was the truth that they were going to lose me. And even my vascular surgeon today to Premier Prosthetics, and he doesn't cuss, he doesn't joke around. That's my middle son. That's my godson on the left, and the wedding that Christopher's dancing with me in the wheelchair, and that's Christopher on the right. To this day, he doesn't cuss, and he just said, just happens to Premier, because he won't say the vaccine. He said, I've never seen anything like it. Him and his team design. We have that. I have a plastic artery that's still in my leg that is kind of inhibits my prosthetic leg. You know, I had the cadaver vein. I mean, we bought them, we borrowed them, we sewed them in, we took every vein from my body, and nothing was going to work.
And you said you wanted to wear that so bad for me this morning,
know.
but there's still issues with the artery.
Right. Well, not the artery, the artificial one, but I have a torn meniscus.
The meniscus.
And so much nerve damage from the amputation.
Again, but so you just got fitted for that how long ago?
About a month ago.
About a month ago. And we also have a video, by the way, of her going through this, learning how to walk. And as well, you just mentioned with Christopher doing a dance,
Yeah.
all of these.
Okay.
In the videos that we're going to
That's
show
when
here.
my first.
These are the
attempt.
first steps?
Yes.
And how difficult is that?
Oh my gosh. Well, they had to modify this so much. Put this this here because my fibula sticks out instead of going down. So it's quite the process, the casting and everything else to do that. And then this, I'm very fortunate. It's called a microprocessor. Feel how heavy this baby is. It's 24 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
It's very heavy. You plug it in at night like a smartphone, so it's charged. But what's different about it is that, you know, as a realtor, he was saying, well, you know, if the terrain changes, you would just fall over. I'm like, I can't do that. I can't fall over. And I said, Matt, when I was in the hospital and I got that 2 days to go home, when I was told I was going to get an amputation, and you came to my room, you asked me about my lifestyle. I said, I'm a realtor. I need to walk, you know, sometimes 20 acres with people. I need to know when the terrain changes. I need to be able to walk up and down stairs. You knew I loved the sand and the water. I have a beach in my backyard. Because now he's telling me, well, you don't want to do water. You don't want to do sand. I'm crying, you know. I'm like, that's nothing what you told me. I said, I get dressed up in formals for many galas. I dress up for work every day. You told me I could wear high heels. So he said, so what are you saying? I said, I want it all. You told me I could have it all. So they've designed a foot that, you know, that's just the raw one. Then the next one is they keep fitting me. It is called a foam. So they can actually match my skin tone, and I can wear high heels and all those kind of things.
It truly is. Again, anyone who has gone into what the design is, what they can do for someone who's faced with this is truly remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. Again, this is her first with her steps. And so tell us what you wanted to do for your 60th birthday, before your 60th birthday. You wanted to be able to take your steps. I saw your post, right?
Yeah, I did.
And you wanted to be able to not hold on.
Right, and not hold on. I was actually able to do that. So that was a
And that
big
just
accomplishment
happened.
for me, yeah.
And we have the video, by the way. Did this just happen about the dance with you and Christopher?
Last weekend.
That was last weekend. You went to a wedding?
my godson's wedding.
There it is. What does this mean to you?
That's just Christopher. I'm going to cry. Look at it. He would never want me to miss a dance.
Your relationship with Christopher, I can't wait to meet him.
No.
I've gotten to know him a little bit through you. I just love you. Here. The tears come. I know that. Well, can you tell us, because I mentioned going into the break, that you asked God something.
I had to be very strong for my husband and my children and my clients. You know, I mean, they relied on me to do their job that they expected of me. And a home is a very big thing in people's lives. But I remember one night, and I was just so sick and thin and weak. And I just said, God, if you can't heal me, take me. Because it was hard on them too, you know, for me to keep going back into the hospital, and I wasn't getting cured, and it didn't look like I was going to be cured, and I just didn't want to be a burden on them either. So I did. I got to that point, but he just kept healing me, and I kept going back in with another blood clot. So,
As someone said earlier, and what I'm so glad is God said, nope, I'm going to give you purpose in pain.
yeah.
And that's where I want to go next. Again, folks, when I told you would probably cry with us, laugh with us, get inspired and motivated by this, when you think my life is so bad, and then all of a sudden you hear a story of resilience like this. I think it takes you on a whole new spiritual journey. We're going to take a break, and I want you to think about this question. What do you think God thinks your purpose is? We're going to have that answer when we return.
Come on, Monica. Let's go, St. Louis. Turn and burn.
Hello, Miss Monica.
Monica.
This is a good one. Sometimes you spend like 10 years and you don't got one like this.
Hi, Monica.
It's a feast. It's like a 17-course meal. You just like, you need a minute. With wine. With a wine pairing. And a whiskey pairing.
That is what. There it is.
I think I just had the most beautiful experience. I saw fireworks.
Thank you, Monica, for making our day.
Welcome back. And again, so many comments. So Richard wanted to know, why do you plug it in? What does it do to help you?
Oh, it's like a smartphone. It's a smart leg.
I got a smart leg now.
So what it does is, like I was saying about when you walk, it changes the terrain. It feels the weight of the heel, and that's what activates it. So I have the agility, I guess is the best way to describe this, being the microprocessor.
How do you stay in such great shape? I love your attitude and positivity.
You know what? When I was in really great shape, people think I was a runner. I'm like, no, I just run around a lot. I still run around a lot. Even with, obviously I practice and exercise with that. I exercise at home anyway, and I do my Pilates and things like that.
You've always been in incredible shape. I mean, again, just beautiful on so many levels. To me, the beauty, though, that's inside is really what matters the most. Richard said it's a horrible, horrible place to be when you truly believe your loved ones would be better off if you were not here. Keep the faith. She has it. Look at right across her chest. It says faith. So I asked you that question. What do you believe God felt your purpose was and is?
Well, he's obviously not done with me,
No.
by the grace of God. My purpose is still to be here as an anchor for my boys. I think, that, in your 20s, we were speaking about Christopher. He called me about 11:30 last night, and a buddy of his, you kind of remind me of him, Eric.
So there's somebody in the studio, Eric Lovelace, who is the nephew of who was my mentor. I was telling Jeannie this story. Almost 30 years ago, when I started my career, I met Henry, and we worked out together at the old powerhouse that was in South County, and we would always train. And at one point, he said, "You need to be a personal trainer." And I said, "No." Like I was going into medicine and all this, and he's like, "I don't care." And he was, if you knew Henry, he had this gruff exterior. Just an incredible bodybuilder, but he had a heart of gold. And if you really knew him, you understood that he wanted the best for everyone, and he just was so driven to get you there. Well, it was ironic, and I haven't been able to tell Eric this story. So Eric is his nephew, and Henry has been around. Unfortunately, we lost him. So, yeah, a couple of years ago. Has it been almost 2 years? He has been around me, though. Like, my dad usually shows up when I go to Cabo. You've probably seen me talk about that story. Henry, though, is the one that showed up. But he showed up I got chills. 2 weeks before that. And constantly he's been talking to me. And I'm like, what is it, Henry? And then Eric calls me. And it was just the eeriest thing. And I'm like, okay, I think you want me to help your nephew. So he's actually, Eric's here in the studio.
Awesome.
He is in broadcasting, works actually in Columbia, Missouri area right now. But I'm talking about having him do like an apprenticeship or internship and being a part of this. And I was like, is that what you wanted, Henry? You want me to help your nephew?
Yeah.
You got it. I would do anything for that man. So it's a little crazy. So Eric reminds you of
my son's friend. And that is so, I'm the exact same way. I hear, my loved ones, and my sister that I lost is just 13 months younger than me. And I pay attention. I pay attention to God's grace and the blessings that are in front of me. And Christopher, obviously, from already talking, he's very emotional. And he got a phone call the night before last, and a buddy of his that he doesn't really see a lot called him up. He said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I just so happened to be with my other friends having pizza." And he couldn't drive there because he had a DUI, and Christopher offered to go pick him up. And Christopher called me last night just bawling, talking about you never know when it's your last moment. And obviously, all the stories we heard of my sister's passing, the people that she saw and different things that had happened. And Christopher took him back home, and he read me this text, and it was Christopher telling him, I know it's tough. He's trying to do it on his own with his business and his house and everything else. And he was really down on himself. And Christopher's like, bro, it's not where we're at. It's where we're going to go, and believe in yourself. And I'm so proud of you. And in the beginning of the text, he was saying, I'm not where I need to be. And, I have no dignity, bro, all those kind of things. And Christopher's still talking to him in the text. And then he said, Mom, I just got the phone call. I should have taken him home. I should have to our house. I should have, I thought he was okay. He hung himself.
Oh, no.
A beautiful boy that looks like you. And, his parents at our age, that's hopefully one thing I know I do for my boys and their circle of people. There should never be a reason to take your own life. When I said that, I wanted to be in the arms of God and to still take care of my children. I was really facing death of a health issue. Never would I consider taking my own life. But when I hear stories like that, I'm like, I still sold $4 million in real estate the week I was getting my leg amputated. If God gives you will, it's up to you to use willpower mentally and have faith and pray. And if you don't have God in your life, I see why people are lonely and they feel like there's no hope or whatever. I mean, who would you talk to if you didn't have God?
Absolutely. Thank you, Zach, by the way. I was just getting ready to say 988. That is the Suicide and Crisis Hotline. We've talked about the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, 988lifeline.org. There is purpose in each and every one of your lives, even when you are just with no hope in your mind whatsoever and you see so much darkness. I've had so many people sit in this chair, a lot of men who have opened up their hearts and said, I tried, Monica. I tried 3 times or many. Actually, there's a guy who's coming back on the show at the end of this month who will continue to tell the story about God saving him and showing him even a little pinhole opening of light. If you see that, then understand that there's something better coming for you. Even though you think the world would be better without you, it wouldn't be. Right. Every single one of you has what I have right here next to me. There's a reason why I started this mantra when I walked away from television, because my purpose, when we talk about purpose, is to affect the masses of the world, to say you are valued. Each and every one of you are so intrinsically valued. But sometimes you can't see it, and you need faith, or you need someone, even if you don't feel like you have tons of people around you. If there's one purpose, if there's one person that can step in and say, you do, and this is what you did for me. There's a reason why I ask everybody to just spread kindness throughout. If I didn't know Jeannie, but I happened to pass her at a gas station or at a grocery store, and if I just stopped and said, you have the most beautiful blue eyes, you're just such a beautiful lady, and you exude this positive. Suddenly, if she was at the end in her mind, that might be the thing that lifts you up. A simple compliment from a stranger can go so far. And these are the things that we try to stress with this. So purpose to go on and tell your story. Purpose for all of you that are watching to say, okay, if she can get through this, and not to play on this metaphor, but if she can take that step forward, then I can do it as well. That's what I'm hoping for you. Angie just said, hi, Jeannie. You are such an inspiration. I love that my parents found Raintree and you. So this is Angie Workmeister.
Oh, yeah.
Sophie?
Yes.
So, yeah, it's funny. I did not know that you lived at Raintree. Yeah. Raintree reminds me of these two, because how old is that property, by the way?
In the 80s, late 80s. It was started to be be
See, I thought it was the 70s.
I'm sorry, it is. It is the late 70s, right? I'm sorry, it is.
Because
the 80s,
because for all of you that know that I don't like coffee, my first taste of coffee came at Raintree Plantation when my mom and dad went there to look at Raintree back in the 70s. I was in grade school with my brother, and they were like, you guys can sit out here while we talk to your parents. And I'm like, they always drink coffee. Let's try coffee. And I thought it was the most disgusting thing and still can't stand coffee. But Raintree Plantation is the most beautiful place. For those of you that don't know, it's still kind of a hidden secret for some. I've known about it. Look at this. This could be your home.
That is my backyard.
No. For you, yes, but this could be somebody else's home. Palm trees, sand, she mentioned earlier, and you probably were all wondering, what do you mean she's got sand in her backyard? She's got sand in her backyard. Doesn't that look like a blast? You have so many reasons right there. Look at that. So young kids, her children, her husband, so many reasons to continue on. And I'm so glad that God saved you.
And that's Mike's father, who's 93 years old. He was still putting roofs on the church 6 years ago. I mean, he just never stops.
You've got resilience all over your family.
Yeah.
I
They're
love
strong.
this.
They're strong. Marie always said about raising my boys. She always says she's little but mighty. I loved them with tough love, to raise them.
Yep.
But they're good. They're good people. Christopher was found from a Facebook thing of eating at a diner in Cancun. We were there. And long story, he wound up going to the world's largest modeling agency, Wilhelmina, in LA for 5 years. And he came back. He just said, "Mom, I just miss home. And I'm so glad that it did not change him. When they wanted to keep him, I said, no, you can have him summer breaks and everything else. And so I said, there's 12 of them. They picked me up in a Rolls Royce. The office is on Rodeo Drive. And they said, Miss Baumgartner, we're not used to people modifying our contracts. I said, did I tell you what I do for a living? If I can add a goat to a real estate contract, I only have one Christopher. So I'm going to set the terms about it,
He models for 5 years?
Oh, yeah.
Does he model anymore?
No, he still does.
Oh, okay.
And actually, that was one good thing with the pandemic. I said, Chris, come home. You could fly out and go to Tokyo and skate around in your underwear for $1,500 a day. I mean, check out his Instagram, Christopher Baumgartner. He doesn't hardly even put anything on there because he's so shy about it. But he is just beautiful. You've seen him,
Yes.
when he really takes good photographs and everything else. But yeah, I was happy because I was so worried about them changing it. And here I am when they see that picture of his 8-pack and they said, oh my gosh, how did you prepare him for modeling? And I said, I don't want him to model. I said, well, he plays basketball and he eats nothing but Angus beef. They almost fell off their chair. I didn't even know what vegan meant,
But then I remember reading posts about him coming back home, and can you imagine for how connected he is to you, if he wasn't here during everything that you had gone through? I can't imagine that. It would have just completely tore him apart.
Oh, yes.
To not be by your side during all this. There is Christopher, by the way. Again,
Yeah.
always there for his mama.
Right.
Marilyn just said, that is so sad, and it's horrific when someone takes their own life. So difficult to understand. Too many left too soon. Agreed, Marilyn. Love the faith. Staying close and every day being quiet and listening to our Savior is important. Being so grateful for all the blessings that gets us through the tough times. Absolutely. So it's, again, every time we have someone sit in these chairs to give us their stories of being able to get through some of the most difficult aspects of life, that's what this is about. We laugh together, we cry together. You've seen some of the promos talking about heartbreaking stories, but it's how you come through those and how you come out better. So at the end of every show, Jeannie, I always do these 100 Days to Freedom books, okay? So I want you to pick, because God will speak through you and then through me, 100 Days to Freedom from Depression, shame, fear and anxiety, or anger. Which one is speaking to you today? Depression, shame, fear and anxiety, or
Fear
anger?
and anxiety.
Fear and anxiety. All right, everyone. We're going to take a break, and when we return, we're going to wrap up with Jeannie Baumgartner, and we're going to give you some freedom. 100 Days to Freedom from Fear and Anxiety. I can tell you that if I look back at the books that are chosen and which one is chosen most, it's this one. So many people live with fear and anxiety in their life. We're already on day 40 of this one as we go through 100 days, breaking you from the fear and anxiety you have in your own life. More of The Real Monica Adams Show when we return. He wants to say, I can't believe I took your son's life. I don't know what I was thinking. I have so much regret and remorse. I've changed my life. Would you accept that apology?
I've never thought of that. Yeah, I would.
Do you think, because you talk about forgiveness, do you think that you all can ever forgive one another and come back together?
It wasn't just right. I'm not perfect. Just because my name is Bush, I don't have it all figured out. And I think they know that too.
I was cyclically depressed, so I could be the happiest person you ever met at 11 a.m. I could be on cloud 9. And by 7 p.m. that evening, I'd be sitting on a couch with a gun in my hand and thinking hard not to get emotional. I
never feel sorry for being emotional.
I really, I was at a space to where I couldn't believe that I had brought my children into this.
Where's the light? Because many of you probably feel that there's this darkness and there's this thunder cloud that's constantly over you. This family has dealt with so much.
So our journey is our journey. There has to be purpose in this pain. There has to be something more powerful. I have to find something to be blessed about every day. I have to count my blessings and have gratitude every single day.
Welcome back. We are in the wrap up of our show today, talking about weathering the storm, purpose in pain, again, resilience, incredible resilience. So day 40 of 100 Days to Freedom from Stephen Arterburn. This one's from Fear and Anxiety. We do these devotionals as we wrap up the show. Thinking patterns, that's what this one's called. Hold on to the pattern of wholesome teaching that you learn from me, a pattern shaped by the faith and love that you have in Christ Jesus. Through the power of the Holy Spirit who lives within us, carefully guard the precious truth that has been entrusted to you. This is actually 2 Timothy 1, verses 13 through 14. So we're all creatures of habit, not only bad habits, but routines and patterns in our daily lives, which help shape our character. Anxiety and fear can become a habit. It sounds weird. Who would want to routinely feel anxious or afraid? No one, but we go through it. We're humans. Yet many of us live in a pattern of fear and anxiety and think there's no way to change it. But there is. This is the hope and the light that we have been telling you that is right around the corner for you. Think about the times when you were not feeling anxious or fearful. What was happening? Were you celebrating? Were you engrossed in maybe a good book or a movie or learning something new? Were you with a good friend? To change our thinking patterns, we have to disrupt that which our minds routinely swirl around. Start small. You'll begin to develop routines that are healthy. It could be exercise. Your brain benefits from the chemicals that are released through physical activity. Maybe take up a hobby. Maybe you join a Bible study, or you learn to meditate on the scriptures. You know, I'm very big into meditation and clearing the mind. The idea is to develop and solidify some new patterns. But don't try to change them all at one time. That's going to stress you out. That does not work, by the way, and you will be stressed. The patterns of our lives are ours to change. You know, in 12-step recovery, people learn new ways of thinking because to regain their lives, they need to change their routines and their mindsets. As you change the patterns in your life, you'll begin to experience peace of mind, clarity, which again, begin new patterns. Albert Einstein said, we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. Think about that. And Sheila Walsh says, if you feel stuck, bring your whole self to Christ, not just the problem, but you. Ask God to change your heart. Commit yourself to pray to that end. It's God's heart to give good gifts to his children. So today's prayer, Lord, help me to discern the patterns of my thinking. Help me become the person you've created me to be and to experience freedom from fear and anxiety. Amen to that. Any of that speak to you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, I used to talk about... I always tried to be positive and put positive things out there on Facebook and everything else. And I had a Down syndrome sister, so some of that came from that. And I would say to people, just think about your daily life first, and you complain. And especially when I was a cosmetologist, people that complained about the arch in their eyebrows, I'm like, if that's your only problem, you really have nothing to worry about. But I said, think about your daily events of taking a shower, getting out, getting dressed. And I would think about my sister Kim and think, have gratitude that you can do those things easily, but you complain or sit on the couch eating potato chips, not enjoying a glorious, beautiful day, when there are people who would love to be able to do that and go out. And then obviously after losing my leg, I was like, I people who complain to me now, I'm that way anyway. I run a tight ship. I'm like, I'm merciless. I'm not going to give you any excuses for that. Don't criticize your beautiful face or your beautiful body or your ability to do things. And when you talked about habits, that is so true. And that's something I really had to learn in acute care. I thought, you know what? I can't take this all on. How am I going to be able to cook again and drive again and take a shower and anything else? I thought, just create new small habits that I can start doing. And it was little things, how to get from the bed into the wheelchair, how to get from onto the toilet, how to get myself dressed. And I thought, I'm just going to make little goals for myself and do that. And the girls that would come in, I had a great team at Mercy for acute care. And I would be laughing like, oh, I'd be naughty, because they would be like cracking up. And then they'd say, what did you learn today in physical therapy? And they'd be young. I said, okay, it's not as easy as you look, you guys. Try to jump up a step on one leg, and they're like a little bird trying to do. I said, no, you can't flap your arms. You got to pretend like you're normally walking up steps. Or, planking. Oh my gosh, I have to just tell you this real funny story. So I'm in physical therapy now at this point, and we're in a room that actually has a door, and I'm trying to plank, and I could feel this leg like when you go whale watching. I said, Drew, shut the door. What is going on? Why is my leg just like that, like a whale? So he goes, Jeannie, you don't have a foot on that end. I said, I keep forgetting. So you know what? I mean, I really have just handled this all joyfully because, I got my life back. I got the quality of my life back. He took some quantity, but I now can enjoy my life. I can go to weddings again. I know I'm not going to be back in the hospital again. I know I'm not going to be diseased with this painful leg. And honestly, if I'd known how much pain and disease was going to be left on that table, I would have done it a long time ago.
I love that on your shirt. Perfectly imperfect.
Yeah.
How many times have you all heard me say, we are imperfect human beings. Release the constant drive for perfection. You'll never reach it. He's perfect. Right. And we were created in his likeness, but we are imperfect. Always bring your best. Look at, she had to learn to take a step. If she can take that step, there's hope for you. That's the biggest thing that we're trying to stress to everybody. Great show today, Debbie says. God bless you. Marilyn says, thank you, Jeannie, for your story. It's to inspire and share. Life happens and always how we handle it. Your faith is amazing and carrying you on your path. You are beautiful inside and out. She absolutely is. It's this unbelievable resilience. And suddenly it feels like an awakening, right?
It is.
A whole nother world here of appreciation, never taking for granted the small things in life that others seem to take for granted. Get out and enjoy the world that God has provided us instead of sitting inside. And I would prefer that you take these shows with you. This is going to appear on our podcast on Thursday at 8 a.m. We drop a podcast, one of our recorded shows that we feel is truly inspirational. And I already picked this because I knew you were going to do amazing. So Thursday, if you want to hear it, and sometimes I tell you, I don't care if you watch the show, hear the message again, and sometimes again and again and again until you get just how valued you are in life. I love you.
Oh, I love you too.
I'm going to give you a hug as soon as we get up. Thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome. Thank
Again,
you for having me.
As it says, faith, hope, love. Think about those things. Sometimes it's just simple words like that that can give you the aha moment. And I do say this as often as possible to get out, give somebody a compliment. Share that type of human-to-human interaction of you're not looking for something coming out of it. You truly are just saying, I want to give you a compliment. I don't know how I could affect your life, but we're going to affect this together because that means kindness to each other.
Oh, and I wear how you're dressed. I wear T-shirts a lot more now and hoping that people, like you said, may pass me and they think, well, if she wears a shirt that says God is good all the time, maybe it's okay. And it is so important that person you pass, because the number one problem I think nowadays with social media is self-doubt and intimidation. And you know what? I'm walking around now without a leg. If I can still do it and be proud, people can too.
Amen to that. Folks, that's it. That's the message we hope that you had heard today for your own life. Again, finding your own purpose, and there is. One more time, thank you for sharing your story. She mentioned, by the way, the baking and the cooking, and your food that you sent me, by the way, looked amazing. Was that lasagna in those pans?
Yes.
Lasagna and a chocolate cake?
Yes.
Do you still do a lot of cooking?
Oh, yes, I do.
There it is, by the
Yeah.
way. I want to be invited over by the palm tree.
I made pineapple upside down cakes and some other cakes because my other son had a birthday. Yeah, I'd love just now I can do it. I can even do it balanced on one leg now.
Of course you can, because you're Wonder Woman.
Oh, no.
Well, Jeannie, thank you. Again, Jeannie Baumgartner. And if somebody wants to follow you or find out more, because somebody asked where you work.
I'm on Facebook, Jeannie Baumgartner. I have a big following there, and on Instagram. And I'm a realtor with Remax Best Choice. I have my own team, the Baumgartner team.
There you go. All right, everyone. This is how I'm going to end it again. Go out, be anything you want to be in this world, but before you are anything, do exactly what we asked you to do, which is to be kind to one another. It's the greatest thing you can do.
Right.
God bless you, and
Thank
God bless
you.
you.